Now, with all that said, let's move to a controversy that is less serious. We're just going to move from the real to the more fantastical to the pure fantasy. And we've got some sound clips that we will play as we go further. But Michele Bachmann has spoken out about the IRS scandal. And remember now, we have 25% of the 300 scrutinized groups that were applying for the 501c4 designation. Now, the 501c4 designation is one that allows your group to create profits tax-free. They cannot be used, those profits, for the benefit of an individual, and they cannot be used for primarily electioneering purposes. That's a very vague standard, and that's where the IRS has trouble determining that. These groups, as opposed to a 501(c), which is tax deduction, in which donations are tax deductible. It's not the case with a 501c4. The advantage of a donor giving to a 501c4 organization is merely that you are kept anonymous. And so you're able to promote the social welfare as a primary function and electioneering as a perhaps secondary function without any accountability whatsoever. So basically, this is a group that is looking to get a special tax status. So any scrutiny of these 300 groups, 25% of which were Tea Party groups, is not, we're going to just randomly investigate these groups. It is going to be that you need to cross a threshold to prove to us that your activities are not going to be contra our rules. And if you have any red flags that may lead us to believe that you're not going to follow these rules, we're going to subject you to added scrutiny. How do we go about doing this? Well, from the IRS's perspective, they're flooded with applications because following Citizens United, it opened up the floodgates for these things. Now, they should have gone after basically those organizations where people who were former advisors, former campaign managers, whatever it was, to politicians, and to a certain extent they may have. We haven't seen the full list as to who was subjected to increased scrutiny. That's going to be released shortly. But they clearly went after groups that said Republican or Democrat. And they chose Tea Party simply because at that time, in 2010, the Tea Party was putting up its own candidates. Some Tea Party organizations were more grassroots, I guess, and just organizing, and others were oriented towards getting politicians on the ballot and having them win. Probably not the best way to go about it, but Michele Bachmann has come out and said, according to the Huffington Post, Michele Bachmann suggested Sunday that the IRS's targeting of conservative groups during the 2012 presidential campaign undermines the election's credibility. And then went on to question whether the agency would deny health care coverage for conservatives. I don't know how she gets from A to B, but if she perceives the election outcome would have been different, Now, granted, none of these groups were rejected. There were some that withdrew their applications, ostensibly because the bar was too high to climb, whether from a practical standpoint or from a notion of that their organization didn't meet the requirements. But if this is the case, isn't this prima facie evidence that maybe these groups were interested in promoting certain political outcomes in terms of candidates? If this undermines the credibility of that election? We learned that during an election, Obama interfered with the First Amendment rights of conservatives and Tea Party members by intimidating and harassing these organizations. No, it simply meant that these organizations needed to cross a higher bar to receive a special tax status. And there is no indication that other groups weren't similarly subjected to this scrutiny. But this is Michele Bachmann.